Drop me a comment and answer this question. Which one of these three animators should go moving forward with the Dragon Ball Super anime, potential anime? Which one of these three artists should continue working on it? And it really is only a fight between two of them. The third one, I think we've all collectively decided that Yamamuro shouldn't really touch Dragon Ball anymore. He's done his part. But I wanted to throw him into the mix for those Yamamuro fans out there, especially the ones that really enjoyed his Dragon Ball Z style, and maybe the ones that enjoy the newer style that makes everything kind of look like plastic. But which one of these three should go moving forward? Let me know. And at the end of the video, I'll let you know who I think should go moving forward.
Know your place, worm. Prepare yourself. Damn Saiyan.
During the height of the Dragon Ball Super anime, it wasn't very long ago that we were in love with Takahashi's work. We've seen a few episodes throughout the Tournament of Power, and we wanted more from this guy. And some fans even went as far as creating a poll on change.org to make it so Takahashi animated the rest of the Dragon Ball Super episodes going forward in the Tournament of Power. I don't know what that guy was thinking. And if you guys can't see through my sarcasm, then yeah, that was me. We all do stupid things, and we're all human. I'm as human as you, and this was probably a poll that didn't need to be made, because there's a lot more that goes into choosing who animates Dragon Ball Super episodes, weekly Dragon Ball Super episodes, than just a stupid poll on change.org, because there are a lot of other artists that work on Dragon Ball Super as well. And I gotta tell you, I created this poll mainly because I was really upset and I was sick and tired of the way Dragon Ball Super's episodes looked up until Takahashi kind of shed some light on a new way of animating. There were a couple episodes that looked really good throughout the Goku Black arc and even through the Tournament of Power, especially the ones with Goku versus Hit when Hit was trying to kill Goku. But the majority of episodes, there were a lot of mistakes, animation mistakes. They just didn't look very, very good, or at least as good as you would think for an anime as successful as Dragon Ball. I mean, they weren't as bad as, say, you know, the earlier Dragon Ball Super episodes, but they were still in that wavelength. So I created this stupid poll, and it was dumb, and it didn't really get that much traction, like, at all. But I made it with good intentions in mind. But as far-fetched and as this will never happen, this idea was, I'm glad that it never got any traction, because if Takahashi had animated, or his team had animated, the rest of the Tournament of Power episodes, we may have never gotten Shintani. Now, everyone liked Takahashi, at least, this is all my opinion by the way, and I'm basically uncuffed here, but everyone liked Takahashi from what I saw because he reminded everyone, especially the older fans, of Yamamuro's golden age, his heydays back in Dragon Ball Z, where he animated things more grisly, more detail, more fluidity, and just a lot more badass looking. Especially some of these t-shirts from back in the day, these posters that I had when I was a kid. That style, the Takahashi style, mimics the old Yamamuro style very, very closely. But it's still distinctive enough to have its own flair, to be doing its own thing. And unfortunately for Yamamuro, he kind of lost track of where he was going within his process. He made some really good animation, some really good art, but as time went on, the iconic Dragon Ball look was all centered around Yamamuro's designs, and we just kept getting more plasticky, stiff Dragon Ball animations, and just the way the characters looked, their hair looked, specifically their hair actually, just looked like it was attached to their head, like in a way that made it so it was another extension to their body, like an arm or something. Like, it was so stiff that it looked like an extra appendage as opposed to flowing hair as it did in early Dragon Ball Z. Now, I'm not an animation expert or anything like that. There are other Dragon Ball YouTubers that do that sort of thing. I'm not like that. I just kind of tell it how it is, and from the way I feel, the way I see it, and my experiences with this anime, which is my favorite anime. And yeah, Yamamuro is not the anime style that I like for Dragon Ball. I don't like the way that it looks so far. I think that he's basically at the end of his rope at this point. He's done Dragon Ball for so long. Dragon Ball has been centered around his style for so long. It is time for a fresh take. And the fact that the ending episodes of Tournament of Power, again, they didn't heed this poll and they weren't just solely Takahashi. We actually got a great animator or great animator team or style in Shintani. Now, where Takahashi brought everything back to the heyday of Yamamuro, Shintani brought everything back even further to the actual manga. Now, the manga is still a little bit different. It's got more details to it, more lines. There's more battle damage, more blood, stuff like that. But the fluidity, the way it looks, the mimicry to an actual manga panel is there with Shintani style. And that's the reason everyone likes it so much, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, the fact that there is a lot less detail, I think, again, not an expert here, but I think the fact that there is less detail makes it easier, maybe cheaper to animate, or makes it more fluid. And that's why we have so much fluidity in the scenes with Dragon Ball Super Broly. And I'm in love with it. I really am. I love Takahashi, I love the details in it, and I love how it brings everything back to the badassery from the golden age of Dragon Ball Z. But Shintani brings everything back to a simpler time. It brings it back to the manga and gives us something entirely new. And people can even tell that it's new. People can tell that it's different because that's all I see on Twitter now. That's all I see on DeviantArt. And this style is catching fire to even things that are in Dragon Ball. The Shintani style, guys, everyone's drawing like this now. Everyone's making their own versions of their own characters in this style. Even fan manga creators or even Dragon Ball fan animation creators, they're all bringing this to their projects because they realize the benefits of the Shintani style and how good it looks. I feel like it's really hard to mess up the Shintani style. I feel like you really have to go out of your way to create an animation error with this style, and I think that has to do with the lack of details and just the fluidity of everything. And there is one fan-made transition that really shed some light to me as to how different this style is from the things we've gotten before and how it works so well with about everything. And that is this picture of Imperfect Cell. Now, if you guys remember Imperfect Cell, this character is by far one of the characters that has the most amount of detail in Dragon Ball Z. His mouth, the lines that go around his mouth, the detail around his eyes. He's meant to look like a horror movie monster because that's exactly what he was in these episodes of Dragon Ball Z, which in my opinion were some of my favorite, especially when he was fighting against Piccolo. You could really sense the threat from this character, and when transition from that style with all these details, all these lines, all these slight imperfections that just make the design work so well, when you transition it to the Shintani style, a cleaner, less detailed, more manga looking setup, you can see exactly why Shintani works so well, because anything can be transitioned to this. No matter how many details it has, it can be brought back to this style and made to work so well. And despite what we think, despite how many dumb fans like, me, put up stupid polls, Dragon Ball is going to go in its own direction, and more than likely it's going to go with the Shintani style as long as it's cost effective to creating a whole anime. Now, if they go with the Shintani style, I'm almost 100% positive that they're going to go with creating an entire season of Dragon Ball and then airing it, similar to the way One Punch Man does it and My Hero Academia does it, even though there's probably going to be long hiatuses like say, Attack on Titan. That is the best way for them to go moving forward, just with the way they create the episodes, because that way they can hire somebody to create these episodes and have a consistent style and consistent quality throughout the entire season. And then that way they don't have all these different episodes that look like they vary quality. Now, who should they go with? You guys gave me your answers in the beginning of this video. I'm gonna go ahead and give you mine. And you guys probably already guessed what it was. If I had to really just choose one, I think Shintani is the best bet. Everyone was telling me back in the day when I was arguing for Takahashi to take over that he may be far more expensive, and that's the reason that he's only in a few episodes. That's what a lot of people were telling me. I think that Shintani might be cheaper to create, or at least the animations. I mean, the less you have to draw on each character, the faster you can get animations out. Possibly the cheaper it is to make those animations. I think Shintani has been universally approved. A lot of people are creating their own stuff with the Shintani style, or recreating the older stuff in the Shintani style, which also works very well, as you can tell by Cell. So I think that's the best bet. Now, ideally, I would have Shintani do the majority of it, with help if they wanted to add some of that old Dragon Ball flair, because the Shintani style looks really good and looks like the manga, but doesn't have that 90s flair that Yamamuro used to do. So if you can have Yamamuro either throw in some of his expertise into making it look more like the 90s a little bit with the Shintani style, or just have him help with a few episodes with his older work as a basis, then I think that he could still be relevant in the Dragon Ball animation conversation. Now, for certain fight scenes, for certain intense moments, the same way that One Punch Man has a more lighter, less detailed, cartoony looking version of Saitama for the most part, up until he gets really serious, and then it goes into like a hyper detailed, more shaded look. I think that that's where Takahashi can shine when it comes to certain shots in the new Dragon Ball series. All three of these guys have done an amazing job with the time they spent with Dragon Ball, and ideally I think they all have a spot in creating more Dragon Ball content, and possibly making the not announced yet new Dragon Ball Super series the best one that we've ever seen, visually speaking. Now, when it comes to the story, let's just hope they go with Toyotaro's manga. This is Gohan Blackscape signing off. Take care, guys.